Hey crafty pals, it's Cassie from Cassie Creates. Today we're going to be playing around with a really simple but fun patterned paper card. I know that if you're like me, like you've got patterned paper. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you were a former scrapbooker. It's just something that we just, we're paper lovers. We can't not get the paper when we see it and love it. So this was one of those instances of me loving the paper, and I got it, and it was this foiled paper from the Paper Studio. And I went ahead and picked out which one I wanted to use. I just love the shapes in this. I think they're super fun. And I'm gonna grab out my Cuttlebug. And before anybody says anything, yes, I still have a Cuttlebug. Yes, I still use it because I got it maybe like a couple of years, maybe, I'm not sure, before they decided to stop making them. And I was just, I loved it, and I still do. I still love my Cuttlebug, but, it is what it is. I'm sure eventually I'll get like a Gemini or a Spellbinders Platinum or something, but until then I'll just keep loving this one until it absolutely gives out on me. So here I was just kind of playing around. You saw me getting out my Gina K Master Layouts 1 dies. I use these like every day, pretty much. And I'm using the larger one here, which is, I think, 3 inches, 3.75 by what, 5? Yeah, that's what it says. So it's the large rectangle one, because I didn't want to put any kind of outline around it. I just wanted it to be as big of a background as I could make with these dies, and then put it onto a plain card base, which of course you see I end up changing a little bit, but not completely. So I've run that through. There I've got that piece perfectly cut out, and of course, saving every little scrap that I can save that scrap for later if I want to. Now I'm going to fold up my handy dandy Cuttlebug and put it away. And here I'm just kind of figuring out, what way do I want this to go? Do I want it to be portrait? Do I want it to be landscape? What do I want to use sentiment-wise? So I'm using these sentiments here. This stamp set is from Simple Stories. I'm going to tell you, I had never used Simple Stories until recently, and they are really great quality, high quality photopolymer stamps. They stamp beautifully. And this set is from the Say Cheese 4 stamp set. I think I have it right here. Let me look. Nope, I don't have it right here. I already put it away. I'll put it in the description below, but it's got a lot of really, really cute sentiments. There's coordinating dies that I do not own that go with these. This is also part of a larger set. They have patterned paper, really great for scrapbooking, especially if you go to a magical place, wink wink, that we might be taking our daughter to next summer for the first time. If you're a parent of a toddler, you will get that. Anyway, so I'm inking this up with some Memento Tuxedo Black, which is one of my favorites for sentiments. I also use the Hero Arts India Black ink. I really like it as well. It gives nice crisp results, but I usually prefer the Memento just because it's what I'm used to. So that's what I'm using here. And I went ahead and picked out this Hello from that stamp set, that Simple Stories stamp set. And I'm just going to wipe off my stamp here. Remember, this is a new cloth. A new cloth. This is not a, oh, I didn't say that yet, did I? Oh my gosh, I forgot. Yeah, okay, so this is a new cloth, okay? This is not the old blue ones. It looks just like them, but it's gray. I promise I'm not that disgusting that my blue ones have just turned gray. So now I decided, you know what, to give it a little bit more dimension and fun and make it look a little more professional in my eyes, I was going to clear emboss over this black sentiment. So you saw me there using my anti-static powder tool, and now I'm going back in. Thankfully, I have my Misty, which makes stamping so much faster and easier. Best thing I ever bought right here, ladies and gents. and I am putting the VersaMark ink on it. I'm looking at it in the light and I see I missed a couple places because it's not shining like it should. So I went ahead and put a little bit more ink on my Hello stamp and smooshed it on there. Again, I don't have a Chucky tool or Debbie tool or any of those tools. You don't necessarily need them, but if you stamp a lot, then I have heard that they're absolutely wonderful. So I may look into that pretty soon. Now I'm cleaning that off with, again, my not blue microfiber cloth. It is gray, not just nasty. So here I have my clear heat embossing powder, and I don't know why I said heat before, but embossing powder. Obviously it's for heat embossing. And I keep it in a sandwich container because it just keeps everything. I can't take credit for this idea. I mean, you see that I just do what most crafters do, you know. If you've watched other crafters on YouTube, etc. And I went ahead and just put some clear powder on this. This is fine detail powder, and there was some of it was sticking to the foil there, even though it's not hot or anything. So I just use a really, really fine paintbrush and just go through there and wipe off those grains that I don't want to emboss. And boom, just like that, my clear is done. Now I don't do this for everything. Don't put it all in sandwich containers. It might be nice if I did, but I just do it for my clear because I use the clear all the time, so it just makes it easier. Now you didn't see this off screen, but I did let my heat gun heat up quite a bit because I think, you know, it helps with the paper warping if you don't, well, the paper not warping, you know, if you make sure that your heat gun is nice and hot before you do it, so that way the powder melts quickly and you're not sitting there forever waiting for it to heat up and your paper curls up and won't stick down properly to your card. And there we have it. So I keep my card bases, I make them, I keep them in little baggies. These are just little like stamp bags. And this one is like a tent fold, top fold there. I've been really into those lately. I did it in my last video as well. And so I'm just kind of looking at that and kind of envisioning what I want the end result to be. And I decided, you know what? I don't have a paper that exactly would match this Paper Studio foil pack that I have, but I can make it. So I grabbed my alcohol markers and my ruler. I grabbed my T ruler. I usually use my regular ruler for this, but my T ruler was right in front of me, so I just grabbed it. And I am just very, very messily and accurately coloring around the edge of this card. And oh, excuse me, I neglected to mention that this is not the card base. This is another piece of 65-pound weight Neenah paper, cardstock, clearly. Because I have learned that if you do it on your card base, that the alcohol ink might bleed through and show on the other side, and plus, like, if you make a mistake, you know, it'll be on the card, versus here, if I made a mistake, then I could just get a new piece of paper, no big deal. But my cardstock for my bases is like 110 or 20 pound, and I don't want to waste it. So here's a quick trick. I always look at the edge of my card because I score them and fold them myself, and if one side is kind of longer than the other, I make sure that I use that longer side, so that way when I put the paper over it, the back side doesn't peek out. It's really hard to explain that, but you know, maybe think through it, it will make some sense. So I'm just going to take my bone folder and reinforce this because the crease was not super crisp and it was getting on my nerves. I'm double checking the sides here to make sure that's the side that I want to adhere my paper onto, that it's the longer of the two sides, so that way they're even. Now you could obviously cut it, but you know, sometimes, I don't know if you're like me, but you're like, you go to cut a little bit off and then you're like, oh, it's not perfect, let me cut again, and suddenly you're left with not the correct card size because you've cut too much off. So to avoid that, I just use the long side as my card front. So I've put some double-sided adhesive or some adhesive tape on my 65-pound colored paper, and I'm going to use my Score Buddy to line it up with my card base, stick it right on. And I was just going to stick it flat, just like this, on to the front, and that would be really pretty. I think that it, you know, it looks really nice. It's simple, but you know, it's nice. And then I thought, you know, maybe I should pop it up, but I wasn't really wanting to use foam tape because it's kind of a large piece. So I grabbed this. I bought it at the dollar store probably 2 years ago and still haven't used them all because I don't do this kind of dimension that often. At least I haven't in the past, but I think I'm going to start because I really like it. So I grabbed a couple of those sheets, and I'm sure you could find foam sheets at really any craft store, but I'm using these. They're kind of thin, so I'll need to measure them out and cut them with my guillotine trimmer. Ta-da! And I'm going to cut them about a 1/4 inch smaller. I think that's what I ended up doing, was about a 1/4 inch smaller than my card front panel that was done with that Gina K. Pardon me, that was done with that Gina K die. So here I am just cutting both of them at the same time. Quick and easy. Ba-bam. There we go. Bye-bye scraps. And just kind of looking and making sure that this will be somewhat even. I like doing this because it ultimately holds up, I think, better than the foam tape. When you've got a ton of foam tape, it goes through the nail. It may wrinkle in spots depending on how they run it through the machine. But this way you've got, you know, this popped up dimension, but it's not going to get like bubbles and stuff in it the way that it, you know, because there's not spaces in between it and the paper, unless of course you put foam tape completely without spaces on the back, which I would applaud you for because it's too expensive, in my opinion, for me to do that. So I just use the budget friendly. So you see here, me and my budget friendly, I am adhering, and I went ahead and cut that out because cut out the tape of me or the video, excuse me, of me gluing them together, because, you know, you could tell what I did. I glued the panels together to each other, the foam, and then I glued them to my card front, and now I'm gluing the foam that's on the back of the card front to my actual card base that I have colored to pretty much match it. It's a little bit lighter, but I kind of like it. And I used my Misty to smush everything down and make sure it held, and I cut out some time there while it dried. And wha-bam, that's it. How simple was that? I mean, honestly, it really did not take very much time at all. Not a ton of planning or anything. So I'm really happy with it. I think it looks pretty. I think this would be an easy one to mass produce as well. Just an easy design. And here I am using my custom stamp. Here's something I learned the hard way. Open your card up, lay it flat, then do your stamp on the back. Ask me how I know this. Yeah, so that way it stamps perfectly evenly. And then I have this little one down at the bottom that says handmade. I've had that forever. I love that stamp. Yeah, and then there we go. That's it. And I chose a craft envelope. I was going back and forth between pink or craft, but I think the craft is really trendy. You can use a lot of really cute colors on the front to address it. You could even use like a white pen, which would be super fun. And I think it sets off the card really well and doesn't distract from it or blend in too much. It's like a complementary contrast. So yeah, there we are, our little Hello Simple Pattern paper card. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.